Fuck it. The only way to do is to do. I wrote myself a letter as an exercise. Over the past couple months, it took me way longer than I would have liked. A letter to help me unpack my journey to date and make sense of it. Gonna do this in the most me way possible, which is to eat a bowl of beans and sardines and sauerkraut as we go. Probably going to be doing a lot of talking, so not a lot of eating, but just know that was the idea. Here goes. Why a letter? So to start things out, why even write a shareholder letter? Generally, the purpose of a business is to make money, i.e. increase shareholder value, and shareholder letters are written by an executive, CEO, to said shareholders to explain what the heck's going on, reviewing past performance, and declaring future plans. Now, I obviously neither have a business nor shareholders, but I figured that this would be a fun experiment, a fun exploration to evaluate my life to date in this lens. Okay, but given the absence of a business and money, how do I mean to evaluate said outcomes, right? What's the metric? I proposed self-actualization, which can be defined as the full realization of one's creative, intellectual, and social potential through internal drive, as opposed to external rewards like money, status, or power. Basically, am I aligned with who I actually am? Am I doing the thing that I want to do? My first draft that I started back in September never once mentioned self-actualization. I did not realize that this was the goal when I started. So how was I to optimize for this metric? Well, I guess that's kind of the point. Jobs famously said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. And I found that only by giving myself the freedom to wander have I begun to find my way. So let's unpack this. Who am I? How did I get here? Why am I here? Chapter 1, the question. Growing up, I was always an extremely curious kid. I would ask the same question over and over and over. Why am I me? My mom said I'd be a philosopher one day. I kind of brushed her aside. That didn't make any sense. But I couldn't wrap my head around it. Why could I only see life through my eyes, as I am right now, looking at this screen, talking to you? What would it be like to experience life as someone else? I never got those answers, and maybe I never will, but I would like to. Chapter 2, different. So growing up, I was raised by two Italian immigrant parents who were both teenagers when their families uprooted them from their quiet, peaceful lives in Italy. Think everyone knowing everyone, people leaving their doors unlocked, and then dropped them in the loud, chaotic Bronx. Safe to say, they had their own strong opinions about America. This meant I grew up speaking Italian at home, had extremely limited screen time, if any, read lots of books, played lots of soccer, and spent lots of time outside wondering why I was so different from everyone else. To make matters worse, I had this insecurity about my eyes. They were constantly red from some condition I never quite figured out, got a couple of diagnoses, whatever. I used to struggle to hold eye contacts, and I used every day in school to alleviate the symptoms. And my name is Andrea. If I had $1 for every time someone asked me, isn't that a girl's name? Well, maybe I wouldn't need to be doing this because I'd already be rich. Well, I didn't appreciate it then. This definitely gave me something that most people never get, and that's the ability to see the world from the outside, to see the world for what it is, to question what everyone else just accepts. But at the time, I just wanted to be normal. Chapter 3, the pizzeria. Sophomore year of college, my father called me that spring, and he was fed up with his pizzeria, a small shop in the East Village he'd run for years. Wanted to just turn in the keys and have that be that. I'd grown up in and around that place, worked summers there since I was a kid, so I saw a unique opportunity for adventure. called my dad up and said, "Don't worry, Dad, I'll run the business for you." Now, I didn't know anything about running a business, but I figured I'd learn. And, well, I was kind of right. That summer was a blast. I recruited my buddies. We remodeled the entire store. We literally spent 72 hours there straight on the 4th of July, redoing everything. We raised prices to what competitors were charging, integrated with all the fancy schmancy delivery apps. I think Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash. I got payroll under control, started keeping actual records, like Excel and whatnot. Life was good. By the end of the summer, we turned a break-even business into a pretty profitable one, and it felt good. It felt like I was building something real for the first time. My brother took over when I went back to school that fall, and he killed it. But then COVID happened. I came home to help reopen. Our cash flow was cut in half, and to make matters worse, our lease was up that July, and we'd missed the window to renegotiate. So we were in the shop 7 days a week just trying to make payroll. And to top it all off, I got scabies, which pirates call the itch, apparently. And it was the itchiest I've ever been in my life. I literally could not sleep. I was nonstop, full body rash. It was horrible. I went to see a number of doctors, and they all told me I was allergic to something. Very helpful. There came a point when I realized that I was going to lose the pizza shop, and I had a mental breakdown. This was the only time I've ever done so in my life to date. I lost it. I could not stop crying. I cried like a baby. Looking back, I lost my childhood that summer. I had taken on my father's responsibility, and ultimately I had failed. To this day, I don't think I've ever fully processed what happened, and maybe this is a part of me trying to do that. Next chapter, normal. As you might imagine, my life felt super abnormal, and I wanted nothing more than to just be normal. So I went back to school like nothing happened. I got my master's. I landed a consulting job. Everyone was so proud of me. I remember getting on the job, my first project after all the trainings, which were, a lot of fun. My project was to validate Microsoft Excel spreadsheets by hand. Yes, I was literally proving Microsoft Excel, which is a calculator, was right by hand with another calculator. So I was like writing out the algebra like you would on a math test to prove that the calculator was right. I was getting paid good money, and I was doing very important work. I had accomplished the mission. Good degree, respectable job. I was officially as normal as could be. But for the first time in my life, I had money coming in, and I realized that I wanted more. I started going to the library every day after work. I studied for the executive assessment exam. I scored what the hell? Hold on. We're going to continue. Screen time player interruption. For the first time in my life, I had real money and realized that I wanted more. I started going to the library every day after work, studied for the executive assessment exam. I scored very well. I applied to get my MBA at Stern down in NYU. I was rejected. And it seemed that normal did not want me. I had this ambition starting to bubble up inside. I realized that I just wanted more out of this life. And then ChatGPT came out. Now, I don't remember the exact moment. There wasn't a lightning bolt or anything like that, which they may make into a movie one day. But I'd always seen software as some alien technology. I never really understood it for what it was. Maybe that's because I grew up off the internet. But now that I could talk to it, something just clicked. I started asking questions, so many questions. At first, they were all practical. I wanted to build things, and this was a supercomputer that could help me build those things. But the more I used it, one question kept coming back to me. why doesn't it know me? And I saw ChatGPT as a brain with no nervous system, no way to learn from the world, no memory. It just didn't know who I was. So I became obsessed with what was missing, and I saw that as being TikTok, specifically the algorithm that powers TikTok in the ByteDance recommendation system that kind of knows what you want before you even know what you want. And I wondered, what if we could build that across my entire life? A system that knows me better than I know myself, that knows all my interests, can recommend me things to consume. But I was still stuck at my desk validating Microsoft Excel. Hence began my David Goggins era. I started waking up at 5 a.m., going to Starbucks before work to build things, still went to the library every night after. I told everyone I wanted to quit my job. Like, how was I going to change the world working a consulting job? But everyone said, don't. That's stupid. You're crazy. So I made myself a deal. If I could run a marathon, then I could quit my job. And I signed up for the next marathon I could find. It was 3 months out, and I started training. I wasn't in good shape. What the hell? File. New screen recording. Record. Why does QuickTime keep stopping the recording? I don't know. So I signed up for the next marathon I could find. 3 months out, I started training. I wasn't in good shape. I was a little chunky at the time. I had been trying to bulk. And I ran 25 miles that first week, which turns out is kind of a lot. I broke my foot. I was in a boot until the week before the race, and I asked my doctor if I could run the race. Absolutely not. He said, don't be stupid. All right, challenge accepted. I did it anyway. I ran the first 3 miles, and then my foot started to hurt. So I walked the rest. 9 hours, 17 minutes, 39 seconds. I quit my job. After quitting, I had nothing. No plan, no income, no idea what I was doing. I was living in my parents' empty house in Westchester at the time. They'd moved up to Maine, but never got around to renting it. So I stepped up. I became landlord. I redid everything myself. Electrical, roof, kitchen. Halloween night, the night before the tenants moved in on November 1st, I was there past midnight with the contractor Angus. Literally, we were building the kitchen. The tenants moved in, fortunately, late the next day. Everything played out exactly as it was meant to. Now, I don't remember exactly when why became why. The obsession came first. The name kind of came later. Maybe it was one night out. I was with my friends, and well, let's just say I couldn't fall asleep that night. I was up until about 9 a.m. and every thought that I had was followed by the same question, why? Why did I have that thought? Every idea had an explanation, and why was the key. I would just trace my thoughts back to, I guess, the root of them. Between every cause and effect sat a why. Wow, that's cool. Maybe I had already been calling it why by then. I honestly don't remember. What I do know is why soon became the North Star. I began shaving my head, printed my first Y hoodie, I still wear now. Started making videos, you can find those on the internet. Exposure therapy to the max. I had been working out of the public library in Hastings at the time when my buddy Ben recommended I join this co-working space called Versi down in Soho. It's kind of like a creative home for high-achieving free spirits. Little did I know that this would become one of the most important decisions of my life. I'm actually at Versi right now recording this. Shout out Versi. The very first person I met at Versi was Yev. I walked in and he was sitting there in the back, 2 monitors up, his computer in the middle, Batman flat brim, scraggly beard. We spent like 5 hours talking that very first day. He was clearly the smartest person I'd ever met. At that point, I'd spent months trying to convince people about how great my idea was, but no one was biting. So I just said, fuck it. I'll teach myself how to code and I'll build it myself. I found a Stanford course on iOS development. It's up on YouTube. You can find it. The third programming assignment was to build this card game set. So I went on the App Store and quickly found there were no good set apps. And I figured, oh, this is an opportunity. I'll do it. I'll make my own. And so I thought, okay, creative spin. Let me combine the game logic with Wordle, like the daily puzzle that everyone plays. And well, that's how Combo was born. Took me way longer than expected to build this app. The AI models back then were way worse than what exists today. I would literally just copy and paste entire files back and forth with ChatGPT. This was like ChatGPT. This was GPT-3, maybe. So I like to think of myself as the original vibe coder. Okay, sardines. So here's where the story gets a little weirder, and maybe where it starts to make sense. As I was teaching myself to build, I began to see life as a series of experiments. Track the variables, see how they correlate to hypotheses. Pretty straightforward. So I started keeping a lab journal in Notion, logging everything I did, from books I read, videos I watched, to the food I ate. I wanted to see the patterns, and the idea was to then fuel the recommendation system I'd always wanted across my entire life. Track what I'm doing in this lab journal, and then eventually be able to collaborate with others. But logging everything manually was pretty exhausting. There's just too much friction. So I thought, what if I built an app to do this? But even I realized that the problem was too big. I was still learning to code, so I narrowed it down. I have a biomedical engineering background. I had terrible acne for years. I'd seen dermatologists, tried every cream, wash, protocol, you name it. Nothing worked. So I figured, what if I built the lab journal just for acne? Let's move this. Oops. Okay, QuickTime Player. Why are we stopping, man? File, new screen recording, record. Now this is gonna become annoying to edit. Okay, what if I built a lab journal just for acne? So I started building Why Acne to track everything, right? My diet, which is how this was born. Although now it feels a little performative, but I don't really have time to eat because I'm talking. Track everything, right? Diet, supplements, washes, sleep. I found a machine learning algorithm from MIT that basically grades acne severity. So take selfies, it'll give you a blemish count and a score, severity score. So boom, there's your data set. We can track if it's working or not. The hypothesis was simple. The problem was diet. I was reading a book called The Good Gut at the time. And gut is the second brain. Diet, hypothesis. So I cut out everything processed. Sugars, simple carbs, alcohol, you name it, gone. I ate beans, sauerkraut, and sardines every single day. I became the beans and fish guy, and everyone thought I was insane. But if you know me, you'll know I'm very, very stubborn, and so I saw it through. I watched in real time as my acne scores dropped. It took months, but my skin cleared. Something even the best dermatologists could not manage. There was an old book that I was reading at the time on self-experimentation called Who Goes First? About scientists who tested hypotheses on themselves before asking anyone else to believe them. They injected pathogens in themselves. They swallowed bacteria. They literally went first. And that was my inspiration. That's what the sardines were. And I went first and it worked. Well, it turns out this chapter wasn't really about the sardines. It was about the methodology. Run experiments, track the variables, ignore the crowd, trust the data. This is my Why app speaking now. Ignore. This is the Why way. I just didn't know it had a name yet. So the sardines worked, but I was about to run out of money. All the money I had saved up from my year working in pharmaceutical consulting, whoosh, Why Acne wasn't going anywhere. That summer, my buddy Yev quit his job to build LSD. Essentially, infrastructure for the agentic web, turning websites into SQL tables. I'd been looking for my Woz, and when I first met him, I thought I'd found him, and, well, he now brought me and a third co-founder, Pranav, on, and I was like, oh, perfect. It makes all the sense in the world. We got into South Park Commons. We raised venture. We built some really cool things. And for a while, it felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. But I wanted to build consumer. I had seen this as the substrate for the recommendation engine that I'd always wanted to build. Pranav wanted enterprise, and well, Yev just wanted to build the damn thing. So we got pulled in 3 directions. In what was probably the hardest decision of my life, I stepped down. I've been told many a time it was the right decision. They shut down not long after, but being right doesn't make it feel like less of a failure. Yev texted me something after I left along the lines of, as the human who taught you to code, make me proud. And I cried. This was the only other time in my adult life since the pizzeria that I cried. The company didn't work, but he was still one of my best friends, and leaving was really hard. It honestly really fucking hurt. After LSD, I was lost again. No co-founders, no clear direction, just me and the question, what am I actually building? I shipped a few things, a chat-based photo journal, digital twins. None of it was it, but something was brewing. I've been walking Paco, the magic dog, for over a year now. 30 minutes every morning alone with my thoughts. One of the first things I actually did on those walks was monologue to myself, record them in the voice journal apps, and feed it to AI. Ask, what would Steve Jobs say about this? What would Seth Godin say about this? And it was really cool. Honestly, those answers were great. But then I stopped, right? As LSD got started, I stopped the practice. After leaving LSD, I picked it back up. What better way to find myself, to excavate the depths of my mind? The responses I got this time were just as interesting, maybe better. The models had gotten better. So I started building Council, a group chat with 5 advisors based on history's greatest minds. One being strategy, creativity, health, philosophy, connectivity, kind of like your personal board based on, well, the greatest minds in history. And I spent months building the council, exploring this AI group chat idea, trying to make it the thing. But then I realized the council wasn't the thing. The input was me talking to myself, recording it, hearing it back. That's why. So why now? I've been writing versions of this letter for months. Drafts piled up, none of them shipped. I kept telling myself, ship the imperfect thing. I kept not doing it. What I found is, what I didn't want to admit is that I'm actually just terrified. I built things before and I failed. The pizzeria broke me. LSD broke me again. Both times I was building something real, and both times I walked away a failure. And part of me is really scared to do that again. Plus, I've never really gone all in. Not on why. I've always kind of hedged. I've kept one foot out, made excuses. Oh, when I build the perfect thing, then I'll start to share the story. Fuck that. You got to run towards what you're afraid of. And I mean, if I'm not willing to fail in pursuit of my goals, then I'm probably not deserving of achieving them. So this is me burning the boats. This is me going in all in on something that might not work, something I can't prove, and something that forces me to be vulnerable in public, with stakes, with everyone watching. But I mean, that's what this is all about. I'm fucking scared, but I need to just bet on myself. The scientists and who goes first. They didn't wait until they were certain. They tested the hypotheses on their own bodies because that was the only way to find out, the only way to know. They went first. And that's what this is. This whole journey, my whole life has been an experiment. This letter is just another data point. Why am I me? I still don't know. But I'm going to keep experimenting until I find out. That's where the letter ends. When I started on all this, I was so delusional. I was filled with a fire like you could not believe, and no one could convince me otherwise. No one could convince me what I was doing was wrong and that it wasn't it. But I kept going. And over the last 2 years, I've kind of lost that fire. But I became something I wasn't, and that's someone who's truly capable of building. I built apps. I taught myself how to code. I played the venture game for a little bit. And now that I have this power, the realization is crystal clear. Tech without a story is useless, but a story without technology can change the world. And if the last 2 years of exploration and experimentation or becoming a better builder, then the next chapter clearly is the story. And digging deep into myself, and this version you see here doesn't fully call out, but it would have been really long if I did, everything that happened, forced me to really come to grips with what it is that I want to build and do. And that's just continue to chase my curiosity and build the thing that I'd wanted, this system that knows me better than me. And the way I see to do it now is through experimentation, clear as day. That's what's worked. Nothing else has worked. I tried normal. Normal did not work. Burn the fucking boats. Lean in on who you are and what got you here. But even grander than that, grander than the lab journal, what is this? This is a story. Yes, the story of you. You are unique. You are special. 13.8 billion years in the making. The greatest story ever told is the story of you. Who are you? Why are you here? Okay, and then we can unpack a level deeper. The story is of a game. This life is a gift, the ultimate gift, the most beautiful thing that we could ever hope to experience is literally life. I'm looking out at the New York City skyline here, free to just explore my own mind, have written this letter, be recording it now. Life is a game. What do you want to play? We're so lucky to have been born into this body with millions, thousands of years of evolution. We have organs and a brain and eyes, and we can feel and sense things. And ultimately what I want to build is the lab journal to play this game, to help me track the experiments as I live them, so I can just focus on living in the real world. And so there's going to be a number of experiments I run in 2026. One is going to be to become a better storyteller. One is going to be to see if a company is actually the way to bring this out into the world. I've never gone out and fundraised for my own idea. Maybe I'm scared of rejection, right? What if the VCs don't want this? Well, fuck it. I'll figure it out. I'll do it myself. There's got to be some other way. And the other was just to continue to grow, to keep eating the diet that fuels me, to get stronger in the gym, to be healthy, to have really strong relationships with real people, just to make the most of this gift, of this life, to see it for what it is, and to play the game, and not just play the game, but win the game. And how do you win the game? You experiment your way there. This exercise started as a means to evaluate self-actualization, and I found myself actualizing in real time as I wrote it. This life is the game. Experiment your way there. Fucking fail, iterate, learn, grow. Make the most of it. That's the Y way. Let's make 2026 the greatest year ever. Oh, now QuickTime Player keeps going, doesn't stop. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, technology.